Hey, Dr. Fred with TT, Tuesday Transformation, and this one is amazing. I have a question for you. Do you expect miracles? Well, let's look at what a miracle is. A miracle is defined as something highly improbable. It's inexplainable. It's inexplicable. It's surprising. It's extraordinary. And the source, it's beyond scientific law. The source is considered to be divine intervention. So let's look at that. Extraordinary, surprising, inexplicable, highly improbable, only because of divine intervention. Is that a miracle? Now, if you're watching this, you know you're a spiritual being first, having a human experience, and we're connected to God. We're a piece, something bigger. God is inside us. He's guiding us. He's directing our life. And so when we surrender to His will, is a miracle really a miracle? And really, that's the question today. So if something happens in your life, other people may see it as a miracle, but do you expect it? Of course, we always give gratitude for everything. We have gratitude for our pain because the movie is so long. We have gratitude for our miracles or the amazing things that happen in our life. We have gratitude to God for all of it. That's part of the human journey. Yet, what do we expect? And so look at, we'll just take a person, Jesus, just that person. And, he said, you can do all these things and greater. So there was one instance of a miracle, everybody thought was a miracle, it was the pool of Siloam. When the blind guy is sitting near the pool, Jesus rubs mud on his eyes, and then he says, wash your eye, wash the mud off in the pool. Now the blind guy can see, and he runs around talking about the Word of God. Was that really a miracle? Did everybody else think it's a miracle? Would Jesus call that a miracle? Or was that expected? Did he have the power of God that moves through him according to God's will, that he just touched a man, even spoke a word, and he was healed? Isn't that who we are? Because we're a spirit, mind, body. We're divinity first. We have a mind that focuses creative energy, and we have a body that creates in the physical world. This is our creative vehicle in the physical world. Right? So let's look back at Moses. Moses was an army general he was a general for the Egyptian army. Kills another Egyptian soldier, gets cast out in the desert, 40 years. So what's he do? He's got to start his life over. Does that sound like you and me? I know I've done that a couple times, right? Finds a wife, gets married, has some kids, becomes a pretty successful shepherd by the terms in that time, but he's always looking at that burning mountaintop. He's being called. His heart and soul is being called. 40 years. He's waiting and he's watching, and then one day he decides. And he says, I'm following that urge. Today is the day. And he walks up there, right? And he gets up there and God calls him to his sole purpose. See, if he hadn't got cast in the desert, he never would have made it to the mountaintop. That's where our pain has a reason. And then he denies God 6 times. He said, who shall I say sent me? You're talking to a burning bush, by the way. Right? And he says, I'm slight of speech. And God says, I'll be your mouth. And then finally, after 6 times, on the 6th time, he says, can you please just send someone else? Right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to. How many times you have a vision that's calling you like, I don't want to do it, and you're scared. Why? Because you think you have to do it yourself. And God says, I am, paraphrasing, I am with you. I'm going to work through you. And then in faith and conviction, he gives up his own will and he follows God's will and the 7 plagues, and he leads the Jews out of Egypt. Right? So he went from a general to a shepherd to one of the greatest leaders that changed the history of the world. Doesn't that sound like us? Right? We go through our pain to follow our calling. And then on that journey through the desert, he's got the Egyptians at his back, the Red Sea at his front. I have a question. When he raised his staff, do you think he would call parting the Red Sea a miracle? Or did he raise his staff? Remember the movie 10 Commandments? For those who are a little older. When he raised his staff, did he expect the Red Sea to part? Of course, God gets the credit. But did he expect it? What was his level of conviction? Guess what? He was just a human. He's no different than you and I. But what was the difference in him? It wasn't who he was. It was his faith. It was conviction. It was surrendering himself to follow God's will. So what vision or dream do you have that may be so big you absolutely need God? You absolutely need this lesson today, because I'm really speaking to myself, to create something that's so amazing that everybody watching you would call it a miracle. But isn't that our responsibility? Because people are watching you, right? They're witnessing that you have a calling that's bigger than you are. And are you willing to surrender yourself to be able to do things that are so great because God's working through you, and you have the confidence to expect it? So step one, there's only one step. All you got to do is say yes. If you just say yes with your heart, every bit of your heart and soul, to be convicted, to have the patience, to have the determination, to have the faith, to have the conviction, and to have the desire to follow that will. And if you just say yes, you don't have to know how. You just have to know that you said yes. You just got to feel it in your body and be 1,000% convicted. Then miracles are already happening, and they're already on their way. My question is, are they really miracles? See you next week.